Well, it's Halloween, a season for jack-o'-lanterns, enough candy to make dentists cringe, and all things that go bump in the night. And let's be honest, few monsters are more respected, feared, and revered than fuck-mothering vampires. The fanged fiends have made their bite marks on pretty much all forms of media, not to mention our impressionable imaginations. Unfortunately, recent years have seen these once proud demons being portrayed as, okay, this joke's been done to death and back. So how about we bring in a real fucking vampire? Better yet, how about 10 of them? Again, standard rules apply, and again, only vampires who originate from video games. For example, Dio's from a manga, so he's out, and as much as I'd like to talk about Vladimir from League of Legends, he's a blood mage and not a real vampire. We all good? Good. It's game time! Sheesh, first entry and already we're stepping into barely tread territory. I talked about the Boktai series on that one list where Josh threatened me with a saber. Not very becoming of a Marine Corporal. Anyways, Hideo Kojima, brilliant bastard that he is, decides to make a game that centers on that giant ball of gas that lights up our planet. And what does he establish as the theme of the game? Like you can't tell from the title of this list. So yeah, war between humans and vampires, and there has to be one of those bloodsuckers that just keeps coming back. Enter the Count of Ground-Soaking Blood. In the first game, he's set up as the rival of Django and the game's first boss, even having been cunning enough to have left a decoy beforehand, and having kidnapped the Moon Beauty under the orders of the Queen of the Immortals. Turns out he was in love with the wicked old broad. In the second game, it's revealed that the Count was responsible for turning Django's father into a vampire at the behest of that game's main antagonist, Black Dain. What lands him a spot on the list, however, is how resilient he is, befitting a vampire. You ask what I mean? After doing some research, yeah, get used to doing that if you're gonna make countdowns, I found out that the Count returned in Boktai 3 and was now working for that game's new antagonist, Ratatosk. Man, always playing second fiddle. In fact, you have to fight him twice, since he survives getting purified due to hiding a part of himself inside of Django's buddy. Clever bastard. I would say more, but Boktai 3 was never released in America. Damn it, why does Japan get all the cool stuff? For most fans of Mortal Kombat, the 3D games are widely considered the point where the series started to suck. How ironic that one of those games featured a vampire. Well, two technically, but who liked Armageddon? No offense to those of you who liked Armageddon, I made that mistake before and I still get crap for it. But enough about old shame, how about Nitara, huh? Yeah, like most of the fighters first introduced in Deadly Alliance, Nitara sadly didn't return in Deception, and to be honest, that's a shame. In combat, Nitara is a powerful force befitting her species. Each character in Deadly Alliance has access to two different fighting styles as well as a weapon. Nitara's styles are Leopard style, which relies on speed and precision, and Fu Jiao Pai, a style which relies on ripping and clawing techniques to, well, rip and tear. Obviously, she thinks her opponents have huge guts. As for a weapon, Nitara wields a pair of kama, which are basically hand scythes. Of course, you don't see vampires without blood, and her fatality is... oh dear god, that is gruesome. That being said, she's not classified as evil in terms of the story. She's actually listed as neutral. Nitara really doesn't give a shit about the Deadly Alliance. She just wants her realm back from being merged with Outworld. In fact, in her ending, it turns out that she manipulated both Reptile and Cyrax in order to destroy the artifact imprisoning her realm. So why wasn't she brought back for Deception? No clue. But maybe she'll get another chance in MKX. One thing bothers me about Nitara, though. Who the hell designed her outfit? Must have been the same people who gave Elise from Mad World her getup.
Awesome rock on her, though.
We get it! When I made my top 10 2D shooters list, I caught quite a bit of flack in the comments for not talking about Touhou. So you want me to talk about Touhou, huh? Fine, how about a petite vampire girl with a childlike demeanor and a penchant for peppering your sorry ass with the bullet rain that the series is known for? Romelia Scarlet, also known as the Scarlet Devil, intimidating nickname I know, is a popular character among fans of the series. And given her personality and abilities, I can kinda see why. Romelia is the mistress of the Scarlet Devil Mansion, which is also inhabited by such characters as Sakuya Brando, Izayoi, Hong Mei Ling, and Patchouli Knowledge, and is apparently bigger on the inside.
Okay, Hoovians, I threw you a bone.
She apparently has the power of fate manipulation, but what that is, I have no idea. They never seem to explain things like that, I don't know why. Introduced in Touhou 6, the embodiment of Scarlet Devil, Romelia serves as the main antagonist, having covered the land in fog just because she wants to go outside during the daytime. I wonder why she doesn't just use a parasol. Oh wait, she does bring one later. In Touhou 8, Imperishable Night, she teams up with Sakuya to investigate the theft of the full moon. It's Japan, they can get away with writing stuff like this. As a character, despite her efforts to appear intimidating, she's actually rather childish and surprisingly polite and respectful. She also claims to be a descendant of old Drac himself, but we all know that's a lie. Just don't say that to her face, however, otherwise she's likely to unload on you with bullets over, and over, and over, and fucking over. Okay, so another woman gets on here. That's 3 in a row now, so you can't call me sexist. Agent BloodRayne takes the term femme fatale to a dangerous extreme. She's beautiful enough to have been in Playboy, I wish I could say I was joking, powerful enough to stand up to supernatural threats, and above all, she's freaking dangerous, especially if you're another vampire. Despite being half vampire herself, she takes sadistic pleasure in killing other vampires. Especially since she was the result of her mother being raped by her vampire dad. Oh god, now we're bringing up rape. I swear, someone on Tumblr is plotting my demise right now. Anyways, Rayne comes into battle with arm-mounted blades and handguns that are powered by blood. On top of that, she's got the standard issue vampire abilities of superhuman strength and speed, heightened senses, the ability to possess enemies, attacks based on her own blood, and of course, a thirst for the blood of her enemies. Hell, she even has some unique powers, like turning enemies she bites into walking time bombs. Another thing about Rayne is how complex her personality is. Due to her upbringing as an assassin, she often comes off as cold and callous. She's also ruthless and bloodthirsty, and even a bit of a sadistic flirt, often taunting her enemies before mercilessly killing them. But what really gets her on here is that she's doing the world a favor. Think about it. Rayne's a former agent of the Brimstone Society, which deals in eliminating supernatural threats. This happened during the 30s and 40s. During that time, she was killing Nazis and vampires at the same time. Do you guys see anything wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with that. Hell, I doubt even the Dalai Lama would see anything wrong with that.
God, why did I bring religion into this?
You know how I talked about Shademan in Mega Man 7? Yeah, he was a great robot master and all that, but that's pretty much all he was. Then comes Battle Network, and holy crap did this guy get a serious makeover. Not only does he look as intimidating as all hell, but he got a serious rank up. In the classic series, he's just a robot master who's holed up in a gothic vampire castle, which holds one hell of an Easter egg, by the way, and is weak to springs. Come Battle Network 4, and not only is he a player in the plot, but he's actually a major antagonist. In fact, when Lan and Mega Man first run into him, he's already drained several navies dry and taken Roll hostage to boot. Mega Man can't do jack shit to him until the dark chip he dropped shows up in our hero's folder. That's right, folks. This guy is responsible for Mega Man's possible descent into darkness. You can't even fight him properly until you slam him with the pile driver during the Boktai crossover side quest. In fact, Shademan's so persistent that not only does he return in Battle Network 5 as a Darkloid, he won't even stay confined to his own franchise. He's actually a bonus boss in Boktai 2 Solar Boy Django and the focus of the crossover battle. And if you're not convinced he's a vampire yet, there's his boss fights. Bats? He's got him. Piercing shrieks? He's got him. Slashing claws? He's got him. But wait, what about the most important thing? You know, sucking blood? Well, it's Data in this case, but he does that too. He's a vampire. I don't think I need to explain anything else, except, Capcom, I'd love to see a new Mega Man game, but not another Battle Network game. You finished up the story already.
And speaking of Capcom...
When most people think of Darkstalkers, they often gravitate towards Felicia, Cinco, or...
Awesome rock on her.
Wrong game!
Yeah, Morrigan may be the face of Darkstalkers nowadays, but I'd say it's time to give credit where credit is due. Dimitri Maximov fits every vampire stereotype imaginable, and it's brilliant. If you want a prime example of a villain protagonist in a video game, look no further. Despite being the main protagonist of the series, this guy has an ambitious streak a mile wide. He even challenged the ruler of the demon world, Makai. Granted, he lost and was banished to the human world, where he gained quite a reputation as he rebuilt his power. Mainly because he charmed every young woman who dared set foot inside his stereotypical castle. Let's see, what other stereotypes does Dimitri fit? Think for bats? Check. Thirst for blood? Check. Red eyes? Fabulous flowing cape? Check and check. Supernatural strength? Dude, there's a reason that there are so few playable humans in the series. It would take a monster to be a match for this guy. And it isn't like he hasn't gotten any respect whatsoever. I mean, he's showed up in Capcom Fighting Evolution and SBC Chaos, and even got a spot in Project Cross Zone alongside Dante. How a ruthless vampire like Dimitri ended up with such a wisecracking demon hunter, I'll never know. As far as Dimitri's playstyle goes, he's the Shoto, which means he's got the standard fireball, rising uppercut, and is generally easy to pick up and play for genre veterans. Except there's one move of his that makes me raise an eyebrow. His Midnight Bliss. Dimitri, dude, you've got a harem bigger than a football team. Don't you know when to say when? Maybe he'll stop when we get a new Darkstalkers game. Oh, wait. Damn it! But maybe you need a vampire with a little more, shall we say, class. Sup, Slayer? How you doing? Slayer is quite the refined gentleman, if I do say so myself. I mean, he has a monocle, a pipe, and a gorgeous wife who's apparently immortal. He's also very dignified in his manner and able to remain calm in tough situations, probably due to having lived so damn long. At the same time, however, he has a greater appreciation for the finer things in life. You know, fine wine, poetry, romance, oh, and a good fight. The thrill of battle really gets his blood boiling, you know, right before he drains more blood from the poor sap on the receiving end of his fangs. He typically likes to keep his hands out of the affairs of the world, however, he's not above offering a few words of wisdom here and there. As it turns out, he actually founded the Assassin's Guild to punish those who consider themselves above the law.
No!
Of course, when the guild lost its way, Slayer decided to step in and disband the whole guild. Man, sounds like a precursor to Assassin's Creed. He also has a style that's unique to the series. He's got a dash that's a teleport, a second teleport that can make enemies whiff, and an arsenal of barehanded attacks that can leave enemies reeling, not to mention that he can knock you off your feet just by stomping. Oh yeah, that's right. As an oddity in the series, Slayer doesn't even have a weapon. Of course, considering how powerful he is, he doesn't even need one. He never actually even gets knocked out. He just lies there looking bored as hell like you're not even worth it. Then he'll proceed to wax poetic while sending you to the moon with his instant kill. Well, I guess you're Luna's problem now.
Okay, bronies, there's your bone. Now leave me alone.
And speaking of Arxis fighters, how could I make a list of vampires and not include Madame Rachel? It would be downright sinful. It may not seem like it at first, but Rachel is one of the most powerful and influential beings in the entire BlazBlue canon. She has power over lightning and wind. She has a werewolf for a butler. She has two familiars whom she uses as weapons and who actually take all the punishment in battle for her. She never actually gets knocked out, just like Slayer. She has control over a shield that cannot be broken even by an attack from a living Killsat. She's one of the few characters in the entire series who's been aware of the time loop that's been going on. In fact, despite her deadpan snarker personality and her tendency to insult pretty much anyone, especially Ragna, Rachel is hands down the biggest driving force for the good guys. Case in point, it was Rachel who saved Ragna's life as a child after he got his arm chopped off by Terami, by sucking his blood. For the record, that's the only time she's ever sucked someone else's blood. Yeah, Rachel hates her vampiric instincts. Also, despite her outward personality, she actually cares a lot for her compatriots, especially Ragna, again. Though she would rather die than admit it, which is kind of ironic considering, she's a vampire. I think this would be a good time to mention that some of the interactions between Rachel and Ragna are comedy gold.
Why? Because Ragna is simply head over heels in love with me, of course. What? Is that true?
No! And in case you missed it the first time, hell no!
If I could think of a problem with Rachel, it's her tendency to leave out important details. Such as why Ragna wouldn't have had a chance against Terami. Of course, that might have made the guy even more mad. One last thing. I know her ribbons may make her look like one, but call her a rabbit at your own peril! Again, we step into the obscure because, let's face it, who talks about Legacy of Kane? Certainly nobody in the Countdown community I'm aware of. But if you've seen Kane in action in even one of his games, you know just how dangerous this guy is. I've only played one game he's been in, but after delving into extensive research on his abilities and character throughout the series, I can safely conclude, this guy is fucking scary! His abilities alone are enough to make any mortal quake in fear. Energy projection, mind control, power over lightning, hell, this guy can drain his victims' blood without even touching them! Not only that, he gains the powers of other vampires by drinking their blood. However, what really makes Kane such a terrifying entity is the manner of vampire that he is. Even before his transformation, he was a bit of a dick. But after being resurrected, his experiences transformed him into a ruthless, cunning, manipulative, and downright murderous individual. Not to mention that when given the choice to either save Nosgoth by sacrificing himself or rule a condemned land forever, Kane decides instead to play chess with fate itself to find a third option. The edge of the coin, as he so puts it. This guy jump ropes over the line between anti-hero and anti-villain throughout the entire series. On the one hand, he values loyalty, admits his own selfishness, and has lines even he won't cross. That doesn't change the fact that he's, well, selfish, murderous, incredibly arrogant, and while he wants to save the world, it's only so that he can take it over with his vampire army. In fact, as part of his gambit, he tore off the wings of Raziel, one of his lieutenants, and threw him into the Lake of the Dead in what seemed like a fit of jealousy, establishing himself as the antagonist of Soul Reaver. To his credit, however, many of Kane's enemies are far worse. Of course, the last thing they usually hear is his chilling battle cry. Vae victis indeed. Dracula. Is not number one. Yes, Castlevania is a series I've grown up with, and yes, number one is from Castlevania. But despite how well Dracula is characterized in this series and how famous he is, the truth is, fame isn't everything, and I do believe that there is someone in the series who does him one better. Which is why the number one spot goes to Adrian Fahrenheit Sepesh.
Say what?
Of course, you probably know him better as... Alucard. Okay, before anyone calls me out considering he's technically half vampire, he acts like a vampire more than a human, and he possesses vampiric abilities, so he counts, damn it! For starters, he's a master of weaponry, being able to wield all manner of close-range weapons like swords and spears. He's also able to command familiars who fight by his side and even help him access new areas. Other abilities he possesses are the power to transform into a wolf, a bat, and even freaking mist. Oh, and did I mention he can summon spirits, drain life from his enemies, teleport, and shoot fireballs? Well, those last few abilities he inherited from his more famous father, which leads to the question, why Alucard and not Dracula? Well, Alucard is pretty much the opposite of his father in terms of character. I mean, there's a reason his common name is Dracula spelled backwards. Think about it. He's the son of Dracula, shares many of his supernatural powers, has a perfect reason for wanting to conquer mankind after they killed his mother, and would be more than able to conquer mankind if he wanted to. But here's the thing, he doesn't want to. He instead chooses his human side, swears to stop Dracula from conquering mankind in order to fulfill his mother's wish, and succeeds, on multiple occasions, despite not being a Belmont. He has the moral standing and courage to stand up to Dracula without the vampire killer, and the strength to defeat him without it. Alucard is proof positive that the sins of the father don't carry down to the son, and that is what makes him the greatest vampire in gaming.
I'm the quarter guy. What the hell was Konami thinking with how they handled Alucard in Lords of Shadow? I mean, Trevor is Alucard? I mean, no, I just cue the outro before I start ranting.
any other circumstance, you might have had a point there. Except my boss is a woman, I was a chick in the 40s, I hate everyone equally, and there's no one alive who could comprehend my sexual preference. So in other words, Miss Van Winkle, check your privilege!